بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. طيب, last week we finished off at the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We did three names. One of them was Al-Wali, the other was Al-Mawla. Sorry, it was Al-Hamid and it was Al-Hayy. Al-Hamid and Al-Hayy. We mentioned the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Hayy. We mentioned several du'as associated with the name of Allah, Al-Hayy. One of the du'as that I came across recently was the name of Allah, with regards to the name of Allah, Al-Hayy, was this particular dua. And this dua, after when we perform the Taraweeh, we go ahead and recite or read about two or three ahadith from Riyadh al-Salihin. So this is one of the du'as that we came across, and I said, you know what, why don't I include this as one of the du'as to be recited in conjunction or in the context of Allah's name Al-Hayy, because it contains that name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a beautiful dua that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he taught us, and we can say this dua anytime we want, but especially when we are feeling a low point in our life and we want to complain to Allah and we want to go ahead and seek the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to seek help from Al-Hayy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us this beautiful dua, and that is Allahumma laka aslamtu wa bika amantu wa alayka tawakkaltu wa ilayka anabtu wa bika khasamtu Allahumma inni a'udhu bi'izzatika la ilaha illa ant an tudillani anta al-hayyu alladhi la yamut wal jinnu wal insu yamutun. And the translation of it is, O Allah, to you I submit, in you I affirm my faith, in you I repose my trust, to you I turn in repentance, and with your help I contend my adversaries. And from you I seek judgment. O Allah, I seek refuge with your honor. There is no one worthy of worship except you, that you make me go astray. That you make me go astray. You are the ever-living, Al-Hayy, who does not die, and the jinns and the humans all die. And the jinns and the humans all die. There are numerous variations of this particular dua. There are numerous variations of this particular dua. Let me just go ahead and give you a little bit of a screenshot of the various. So this is an app that I use, and it contains thousands and thousands of books. So all you have to do is just type in, you know, a particular word or a few words, and you will go get, and you will go ahead and get the results of your search and the books that are associated that contains this particular dua. So you will have, for example, in the chapter of Tahajjud in Sahih al-Bukhari, that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to go ahead and say this particular dua, but the narration differs a little bit, and it just says Allahumma laka aslamtu wa bika amantu wa alayka tawakkalt wa ilayka anabt wa bika khasamt. Okay, and then it says wa ilayka hakamt faghfir li ma qaddam. So forgive me for my sins of the past, what I have done in the past and what I am currently doing. and what I have done secretly and what I have done openly. Okay, so these du'as of the Prophet ﷺ are there in order for us to go ahead and seek the forgiveness, seek comfort, seek the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. Now, relating it to, for example, what Sister Ilham asked last week with regards to are we allowed or are we not allowed to seek judgment from, you know, the courts or from the government or from any legal avenues that are at our disposal, right? Since I've already answered that, but over here, this dua, over here, it contains this particular word, which is وَبِكَ خَاصَمْتُ. O Allah, I seek help from you. I seek help from you because of my iman in you, because I have submitted myself to you, because I have aslamtu, because I have become a Muslim, I have submitted myself to you, and because of my faith in you, and because I have put my trust in you. Okay? Because I have put my trust in you, and oh Allah, because I have repented to you. O Allah, wa bika khasant. O Allah, I contend my adversaries. Meaning, O Allah, I am complaining to you with regards to those people who have wronged me, those people who have taken my rights. Because of my submission, because of my iman, because of my reliance upon you, because I have asked you for forgiveness, and I am continually coming back to you. O Allah, I am also seeking judgment with regards to my adversaries. Anyone that has done me wrong, anyone that has taken my rights from me, whether that right is in terms of worldly matters, in terms of wealth, money, or whether they have taken, for example, my share of the inheritance, whether they have taken my honor, my dignity. Okay. Oh Allah, I'm complaining to you with regards to my adversaries. Okay. So this is a very important and a beautiful dua that we should all be saying. You could say this any time of the day. There is no, most of these duas, or some of these du'as and some of these supplications, these adhkar, these remembrance of Allah, are there so we could go ahead and recite it any time of the day. Yes, there are certain things that we recite given a particular time or a particular occasion. So you cannot go around and be reciting the dua of eating or the dua of breaking your fast just any time. There's a particular occasion for it. But du'as such as these, we could go ahead and say any time of the day. The dua of grief and distress, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan wal-'ajzi wal-kasal wal-bukhli wal-jubn wa dala'i ad-dayn wa ghalabat ar-rijal. These du'as are there in order for us to go ahead and seek that comfort with Allah when we don't have that comfort through any other, when we cannot seek comfort through any other avenue. Right? And you could go ahead and find this dua in Hadith Sahih Muslim, in Hadith number 2717. All right. Are there any questions? There are always people who are coming a bit late, so I have to stop a bit and just let them in. For some reason, I have to admit them. Normally, before, I didn't have to do that. All right, moving on. If there are any questions, go ahead and ask, and then before we continue with Al-Qayyum. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on with Al-Qayyum. Al-Qayyum is one of the other beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it means the sustainer, the one who sustains. And we mentioned this last week that Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, they are usually mentioned together. Normally they are mentioned, whether it's in the Quran or whether it's in the adhkar of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the adhkar that I mentioned in Al-Hayy, I'm not going to repeat them in Al-Qayyum. So for example, in Al-Hayy, we mentioned this particular dua that is to seek help from any distress. Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. So if you've written this in your notes with regards to the name of Allah Al-Hayy, then I'm not going to repeat this, right? We'll go ahead and mention other things that are that have not been mentioned. So this is a very, very important dua that we should, and this is a dua that we should be reciting at least twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening, because it is part of the morning and evening supplication, the prophetic supplications that has been taught to us. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum birahmatika astaghith aslih li sha'ni kullahu wa la takilni ila nafsi tarfat ayn. O the ever living, O sustainer, by your mercy I seek assistance. Rectify for me all of my affairs and do not leave me to myself even for the blink of an eye. Okay? So normally you will find that Hayy and Qayyum, and some of the scholars are of the opinion that if you were to say these two names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your dua will surely be accepted. So if you were to call upon Allah by these two names, by saying Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, and then any dua that you make after, your dua will surely be answered by Allah. Right? And you might be confused or wondering, because maybe you have heard this with regards to a few other names, but there is no, actually there is no reason to be confused, because there are so many ways that the Prophet ﷺ has taught us in order for our du'as to be accepted. So if you don't know one, or if you can't do one, then you can do the other one. If you can't do that one, then you can do a third one. So there are so many ways for us to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a manner that will assure our dua gets accepted. So this is one of them. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. There's another one. Ya Rabb. There's another one. Ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram. Ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram. If you were to say these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your dua will surely be accepted. And they included this in they included these names, right, as being Ismul A'zam, the great name of Allah, the great name of Allah. That if a person was to ask Allah through his greatest name, right, because we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has so many names. By the way, as a side note, the names of Allah are not limited to 99. They're not limited to 99. The names that you see on the back of some of these books, or even on the back of or in the front cover before the Quran, on the front cover of the Quran, or in the back of it, right? The names of Allah are not limited to that, because there are more names. Those are just names that have been selected by individuals. And some, I have seen some, some of those, plaques in which that contains all the names of Allah, there may be one or two names that does not belong to Allah, but rather it is an attribute of Allah. So for example, Sattar. Sattar is not a name of Allah, yet you will see it on some of them, not all of them, right? So a person whose name is Abdus Sattar. Sattar is not a name of Allah. Sittir is a name of Allah. But of course, for the most part, those names are correct for the most part. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are more names to it. Some people have counted 115, 120 names. And the names of Allah are not limited to 99. Yes, that hadith that says, whoever memorizes 99 names of Allah. Yes, that is an authentic hadith. But that does not mean that Allah only has 99 names. It doesn't mean that the names of Allah are limited. So that hadith, even though it's in Sahih al-Bukhari and it is authentic, it doesn't mean that Allah only has 99 names. Because it says to Allah, whoever memorizes 99 names of Allah. But it doesn't mean that Allah only has that. And the proof of it, first of all, is that in the Quran and in the authentic Sunnah, we find that there are more than 99 names. That's number one. Number two, there is a dua in which the Prophet ﷺ, he made. And it says, "Oh Allah, I ask you through every name of yours, the ones that you have revealed in your book, i.e. the Quran, the one that you have taught one of your slaves, or those names that you have kept secret with you." Which means that there are names of Allah that Allah has kept secret with him, that Allah has not revealed, that he did not taught any one of his servants. So there are names of Allah that are kept secret, and that is only with him. So coming back to Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, some of the scholars are of the opinion that if you were to say, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, and then any dua after it, your dua will be accepted. Your dua will be accepted. So let's talk about Al-Qayyum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he calls himself Al-Qayyum, the one who sustains and protects everything that is in existence. Because he has created them, he took it upon himself to sustain their lives, because they are his creation. And he manages all of their affairs. He manages the affairs of the universe. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the ever living, he's also the sustainer of the universe. He oversees everything, and nothing is hidden from him. Nothing is hidden in terms of his knowledge, and nothing is hidden in terms of his sustenance. He provides for them, he preserves them, he watches over them, and he manages it in a way that pleases him. He manages it in the way and for the purpose that pleases him. Allah, he says in chapter 13, verse 33, chapter 13, verse 33, is then he, meaning Allah, is then he who takes charge of every person and knows all that he has earned, like any other deity who knows nothing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking this question, meaning, is Allah, who is the one that takes charge of everything, of every person, and he knows every single thing about them, is he the same as those false gods that knows nothing? So over here, Allah, he's talking about himself, that He knows and he has taken charge. He's providing for them. And I mentioned Al-Qayyum is almost always combined with the name Al-Hayy, the ever-living. Right? And the combination of these two names makes it amongst the greatest names of Allah. And their combination is a manifestation of the perfection of Allah's attributes and His actions. So Al-Hayy means the one who possesses the perfect living. So what is that? That is the perfection of Allah's attributes. Al-Hayy, it means the one who possesses the perfect living, because he never dies. He's the ever living. So that means it is the perfection of his attribute. Okay? So he possesses perfect living, and so all of his attributes are perfect. His hearing, his sight, his beauty, every single attribute of Allah. Okay. Now, Al-Qayyum is the one who established himself on his own and is the foundation upon which all things exist, because he is the sustainer. So that is a perfection of his action. All right. So he's the one that established himself. No one appointed him. He established himself to be the sustainer of everything that exists, that he has created. He's the one who sustains and he manages all of his creation, while at the same time he is not in need of them. It's not like Allah, he sustains them in order that later on they will go ahead and take care of Allah. Right? Like you will see some parents doing. They say, let me go ahead and invest in my child's education, so that way when they grow up, they can go ahead and take care of me. And the scholar said, never ever raise your kids with the intention that when you grow old, they will go ahead and take care of you. You go ahead and raise them in a manner that how they can be the worshippers of Allah. How can they be the servants of Allah? And then you will see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you, whether through them or without them. You will find this. That's why in certain societies, they prefer sons over daughters. And subhanAllah, look at the wisdom of Allah. You will find more often than not that the daughters are the ones ultimately taking care of their parents rather than the sons, especially in our society, in our current society. You will find that the daughters end up taking care of their mothers or their fathers, whereas the sons, they are, either have abandoned them, or if not abandoned in totality, probably they're living in a different country or city. You will find that it is actually the daughters who will go ahead and move back with their parents, or move their parents in with them, just to serve them. And that is, you will find how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he works in such a wise manner to show the people that you go ahead and depend on your son. I will make sure that your son becomes a source of grief for you, whereas a daughter that you detest and you don't want, that when she was born, you frowned, that I will go ahead and make sure that she becomes useful, so you could see the qudra, the power of Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't sustain his creation in order that, maybe later on they will come to my benefit. So he's not in need of any type of sustenance for himself. Allah, he says in chapter 2, verse 255, Allah, none has the right to be worshipped but He, the ever-living, the sustainer of all existence. So Allahu la ilaha illa huwa la ilaha illa hu Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sina, neither drowsiness overtakes him, wala nawm, nor sleep. Nor sleep. All right. And Allah, He says in chapter 64, verse 6, in chapter 64, verse 6, and Allah is rich, free of all wants, worthy of all praise. All right. And also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, everything will be destroyed except His face. His is the judgment, and to Him you will be returned. And to Him you will be returned. So what are some of the benefits that we can seek from the name of Allah Al-Qayyum? Al-Qayyum has established the heavens and the earth, and He supports His creation and servants, and yet He did not become tired. Allah, He says in the Quran, don't you see how Allah, He created the heavens and the earth, and it did not tire Him? So if the heavens and the earth did not tire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think Him providing sustenance for His creation, you think Allah will become tired? Allah, He provides for us. He manages our affairs every single day. So do we think that Allah, He will forget to provide for us? Do you think that Allah will not be? He has been the source of our sustenance ever since we were born. Ever since we were born. It was Allah who was the source of sustenance. For us, for our families. What degree did we have? We didn't even know. We didn't even know how to even suckle the milk from our mother's breast. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one that taught us. Was it a natural thing that a baby is born with? Allah, He has taught that to them. Look at the animals. Right? There are certain animals, if they do not stand up, right when they're born, they will never be able to walk. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do? He puts it in the mother's mind to go ahead and start kicking their baby right when they're born, in order for the baby to stand up. Now, who gave that to the mother? Who gave that type of a thinking to the mother to go ahead and do that to your baby when it's born? That right when the baby is born, you go ahead and start kicking it in order for them to stand up. Otherwise, they will never be able to stand up. Who puts that mercy in the hearts of some of the most wildest animals? Who puts that mercy in their hearts? Mercy to such an extent that they will go ahead and be killed rather than put their cubs or their babies in danger. You will see some of these ferocious and wildest animals and beasts, right, doing everything to provide for them, killing other animals in order to protect and provide for their young ones. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He was the source of sustenance for all of us. He's the one that counts our deeds, and He will be the ultimate judge. Al-Qayyum will be the ultimate judge between us and the people on the day of resurrection. So why do you doubt His justice? Don't you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not make us content on the day in which there will be no other justice except His justice? Now, Al-Qayyum, He does not fall asleep. He does not feel exhausted. He does not feel fatigued or bored. None of these things affect Him. He doesn't wrong anyone because He has no need for it. You will find some people, they will go ahead and commit injustice against someone else. That is because they're trying to seek something that they could not get otherwise. So they will go ahead and seek it in a wrongful manner, in an oppressive fashion. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has no need for it. Do you think Allah, He gains something by putting the people into Jahannam? Why would He do that? Why would Allah, what does He get out of that? Nothing. That's why He sent so many prophets and messengers to go ahead and be a source of guidance for these people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Qayyum, He does not wrong anyone. Nothing misses Him. Nothing escapes Him. Nothing is unclear to Him. Nothing is hidden from Him. So if Allah, He does not fall asleep, He doesn't get exhausted, He doesn't get bored, nothing escapes Him. Nothing is hidden from Him. So do you think that He will not listen to our du'as? When we say, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, do you think He will not answer our du'as? What do you think Allah will get? Or what do you think Allah will lose if He answers or if He doesn't answer our du'as? That's why we only have one Allah, who is the only one worthy of worship. Imagine if there were several, right? Imagine if there were several. Who are you going to worship today? Who are you going to worship tomorrow? Who are you going to fast for today? Because tomorrow, if you don't fast for the third one or the second one or the 100th one, then tomorrow when you need something from that one, imagine the excuse that they will go ahead and give. Oh, but you didn't fast for my sake, so I'm not going to come to your help. That's why we only have one object of worship, only one being that we worship, and that is Allah. And He has no partners with Him. So when we make our sacrifice, our sadaqah, our charity, our worship completely for Him with ikhlas, then how can He not listen to our prayers? How can He not come to our help when we cry onto Him? How can He not listen to our supplication? And when we keep on using, this feeble excuse that, oh, my du'as don't get accepted, how do you know your du'as do not get accepted? If you say that, then of course your du'a is not going to get accepted. How do you know? Maybe Maybe he has already answered it, but you fail to realize it or see it in other things. So you say, oh Allah, give me this, and then you don't see that materialize. How do you know? Maybe that dua was used in order to avert or divert something from you. Or maybe that dua was accepted exactly the way it was, but you failed to see it. Or maybe that dua is being used in order to give you something similar on the Day of Judgment. Oh Allah, protect me, for example. You're saying, oh Allah, protect me from the oppression of these people. Oh Allah, protect me from being, you know, I don't, audited. I guess it's tax season. Right? Well, what if that, but you do get audited, and then you owe 50,000 in taxes, right? What if Allah, well, you owe 50,000 unnecessarily, okay? I'm not saying you owe 50,000 because you were trying to steal, right? Because, you know, because what happened, was it last year? I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I got audited because I claimed zakat, meaning I gave zakat. But as you guys know, I don't give zakat to PPZ or to Slangor or anyway. I give zakat by myself, just like how I distribute the zakat of all of you. So I claim zakat, and they said, "Where's your proof?" I said, "I am the proof. I gave zakat." They said, "No, you can't do that." So I ended up paying, I forgot how much it was in taxes that they that they did not charge me because of my claim, right? So that is the scenario I'm talking about. Not in the scenario in which rightfully so you have to pay your zakat, but you're trying to cheat the system or something. And if you don't have a zakat receipt, then you cannot claim that on your zakat. So let's say you're saying, oh Allah, protect me from that. Oh Allah, help me in that. But then you don't realize that. You don't see it. Okay? You don't see that. And you end up getting audited. Well, what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves that dua for you on the Day of Judgment and you don't get audited by Allah? Imagine that. Right? So last year or the year before, whenever it was, it passed. All right, what did I lose? Not much. You look back, you're like, okay, alhamdulillah. But what about for the future? What about the Day of Judgment? Imagine, you know, if you own a business or several businesses and you get audited, how stressful is that for you? Right? I'm talking about in a situation, even in a situation in which you have nothing to hide. You have nothing to hide. Still, it is so stressful and hard. Imagine if you do have something to hide, even more so. Imagine on the Day of Judgment, nothing is hidden from Allah. And yet Allah, He oversees, He just skims through some of your deeds. Some of your deeds. Isn't that a manifestation of your dua? Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He accepted your dua, which you wanted in this world. Allah says, I have something better for you. Why? Because you called on to Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum. Okay. Look at what one of the scholars, Ibn Al-Qayyum, right? Ibn Al-Qayyim, he's one of the greatest scholars, and he's written several books, and one of them is on the names of Allah. He says, asking Allah by His names Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, because it has a great effect on His answering your supplications and obtaining relief from difficulty and hardship. So he's saying, we should ask Allah through His name, specifically Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum, because it will go ahead and have our du'as answered. And it has a great effect on it, on His answering our supplication. Now, if the weight of our sins burdens us, and we go around thinking that Allah, He's not going to forgive us, in addition to seeking Allah's forgiveness through His name Al-Ghafur or Al-Ghafir, right? These are names that we've already covered. In addition to asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness through these names, we could ask Allah through Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum. We could ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness through Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says, whoever says, Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-Hayy al-Qayyum wa atubu ilayh. I'm sure most of you know this particular dua. Now, what's the effect when we ask Allah for forgiveness through His names Al-Hayy and Al-Qayyum? And the translation of it is, I seek the forgiveness of Allah. There is no one worthy of worship except Allah, the ever-living, the self-subsisting, or rather the sustainer. Okay, the sustainer, and I turn to Him in repentance. So the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever says this, his sins will be forgiven, even if he should have run away from the battlefield. And running away from the battlefield is one of those major sins. Just like killing someone, just like drinking alcohol, right? But running away from the battlefield, it is one of the major sins in Islam, right? But not only in Islam, even in this world. If you look at the rules of engagement, right? If anyone runs away from the battlefield, what do you think the commanding officer he does to that individual? He will shoot him because he's running away. And that is the punishment in this world. If you look at the military, what they do is, if they find that someone is running away from the battlefield, and it doesn't have to be physically running away, if he is not engaging the enemies after being given an order, then that person, that soldier, will be shot by his commanding officer. What is the punishment for desertion? It is, in some countries, of course, it is capital punishment. They will go ahead and kill him. Running away from the battlefield is a major sin in Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ says, if whoever says this, all of his sins will be forgiven, even if he should have run away from the battlefield. All right. And this dua I've already mentioned in the name of Al-Hayy. Okay. If we feel disconnected from Allah, from Al-Qayyum, and we want to gain His closeness, and we want to gain His mercy and His love, what we can do is we can help the needy and the poor. If we feel disconnected from Al-Qayyum. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, if you love the poor and bring them near, Allah will bring you near to Him on the day of judgment. Allah will bring you near to Him on the day of judgment. Now, the poor are those people that everyone runs away from. No one wants to help. You don't invite them to your wedding. You don't invite them to your iftar or even your Eid parties, get together. You don't invite them to some of these occasions, right? And look at how the Prophet ﷺ talked. He said the worst walima is a walima in which only the rich are invited and the poor are not. And the Prophet ﷺ, he loved the poor. He said, in fact, he made a dua to Allah. He said, "Oh Allah, let me live as a poor person. Let me die as a poor person and resurrect me on the day of judgment with the poor." Now, of course, what kind of poor people are we talking about? We're talking about those types of poor people. We're talking about those types of poor people that do not complain to anyone except Allah. That are not bums, meaning they are not lazy in acquiring the sustenance from Allah. This is just their qadr. No matter how hard they work, that's just in their qadr. We're not talking about those people who, for example, are involved in drugs, and because of that, they have spent all of their money in drugs, and they have become destitute. And this shows us that, look, who did the Prophet ﷺ love? Are the poor people. One of the reasons is because they were the first people to come into Islam, and they were the majority of the Muslims in Mecca. They were the ones that sacrificed. Those that were rich and became Muslims, well, guess what? They became poor afterwards because everything was confiscated from them. So if we love the poor and we bring them near to us, that Allah will bring you near to Him on the day of judgment. If we want Al-Qayyum's help, then we need to help his religion. Say, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, make me of those who help Islam by spreading it, by teaching it, and helping others. We can make that dua. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, help me to spread your religion. Make me of those people who are an ambassador of Islam. Make me of those people that defend the honor of Islam, of the Prophet ﷺ. Look at what Allah He says in chapter 47, verse 7. O you who believe, if you help Allah, He will help you and make your feet firm and make your foothold firm. Any questions? Any questions so far? All right. Let's go ahead with the name of Allah. Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad. Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad. Both of them are they're very similar in meaning, and that's why, as I mentioned earlier, any names that are similar in meaning, I'll go ahead and put them under one heading. Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad. Al-Waahid means the one. Al-Ahad is a very unique name, and it means the one and only. Al-Ahad. And this is one of those names, Al-Ahad, no one and nothing can have. No one. Allah, he describes Himself And only He deserves to be described with the name Al-Ahad. Of course, it doesn't mean that we cannot name our child Abdul Ahad, the slave of the one and only. So Allah, He describes Himself as the one, which is Al-Waahid. And He uses two different names. He uses Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad. Now, Al-Waahid is the numerical value to describe one, Wahid. But when it is used to describe Allah, it refers to His being the one, the first, before whom nothing existed. Al-Wahid, it means He is the one who deserves to be worshipped. And Allah, He says in the Quran, chapter 2, verse 163, وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. And your God is one God. وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. Let me know if you guys want me to show it up on the Quran app, so you guys could see both the Arabic and the English. I'll do that. Allah, He says, and your God is one God. And your God is one God. There is La ilaha illa huwa. There is no deity worthy of worship except Him. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. La ilaha illa huwa Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Also, Al-Wahid, Allah, He says in chapter 12, Surah Yusuf, verse 39, when Yusuf alayhi salam, he told those two prisoners, he said, O my two companions of prison, are separate gods better, or Allah, the one, the prevailing? So over here, he made a combination, a powerful combination between two names of Allah, Al-Wahid and Al-Qahhar, the prevailing, the subduer, the irresistible. And this name we've already covered, Al-Qahhar. So Yusuf alayhi salam, look at how beautifully he's making this da'wah to these two prisoners. He's saying, oh my two companions of prison, meaning these two prisoners that came to him after they gave him their dream. They say, can you interpret this for us? He said, he started giving them da'wah immediately. He said, are separate lords better, or Allah, the one, the irresistible, the subduer, the prevailing, Al-Qahhar? Now, Al-Ahad is the one and only, the one and only, who was, who is, and who will always be alone in His divinity. He is singular and He is indivisible, and nothing or no one can ever be equal to Him. He depends on no one, just like Al-Qayyum. He depends on no one, and His likeness can never be replicated. He's the only one who has no peer, no assistant, no rival, no equal, and none comparable to Him. Now, Al-Ahad cannot be used for anyone in affirmation except Allah. Why? Because He is perfect in all of His attributes. Now, if someone was to argue, no, we can use Al-Ahad for someone else, well, is He the only one who is, let's say, for example, a billionaire, let's say? Is he the only billionaire? But you will argue, no, he is the richest person. Yeah, today, but what about tomorrow? Right? Wasn't Bill Gates the richest person? Now he's like fourth on the list, or third. What's that? Jeff Bezos, and then Warren Buffett, and then someone else, and then Bill Gates. We don't even remember those other names. So he has no one that's comparable to him. He has no rival that today he's the one and only, and then tomorrow he's not. Wal-'iyadu billah. Okay. Al-Ahad, it cannot be used for any person except Allah. No one can be named Ahad. Just like no one can be named Allah. Just like no one can be named Rahman. Of course, all of the names of Allah, no one can be named by using this right here. Alif wa lam. Alif and lam. Because that is the definitive. Alif wa lam, it is definitive. It means the one and only, right? So no one can be named Ar-Rahim or Al-Malik, but he can be named Malik, he can be named Rahim. Oh, he's so Rahim, he's so merciful. You can do that. But then there are other names, even if you were to take out the Alif wa Lam, still he cannot be named that. And one of those names, we've mentioned several throughout this course. One of them is Ahad. The other one is, anyone remember? Rahman. Even if you don't say Ar-Rahman, even if you don't say the Alif wa Lam, still you cannot name any person Rahman. Why? Because Rahman, it means entirely merciful. No one can be entirely merciful or all merciful. So Rahman is one of those names. Jabbar is another name. Now, what are the benefits? There were there were so many benefits. I probably made this a bit too long. But I felt like if I was to take anyone out, it might take away from the beauty. And there's still more with regards to the name of Al-Ahad. With regards to the name Al-Ahad. Now, when we have any difficulties, any problems that comes into our life, who is the only one that we should turn to? It is Allah. He's the first person that we should turn to. If we are sick, don't just rush to gain remedy from medicine. Turn to the one, Al-Ahad, and seek shifa from him. When we are hurt, don't go and vent to a friend and share your problems with the friend. Ask Al-Ahad to bring solace to your heart. And then we can go ahead and share our heartache with our friends and vent to them. Okay? If we are wronged by people, okay, the first person that we should ask for justice is from Al-Waahid. And then we can seek compensation from the relevant authorities, whether that is through the police or the court system or whatever it is. Doesn't that name imply that? Al-Waahid, the one? The one what? What does Al-Waahid? What does Al-Ahad? The one what? The one who can do everything. Okay? The only one who can do everything. Meaning without his will and without his permission, these things cannot happen. Look at what Allah, He says in chapter 27, verse 62. Chapter 27, verse 62. Is He not best who responds to the one in distress when he calls upon Him and removes evil and makes you inheritors of the earth? Is there a deity with Allah? Little do you remember. This comes in chapter 27, which is called the ant, chapter of the ant, verse 62. Now verses, I think 59 to 64, I believe, are all verses that are in question. They all have this question. أَإِلَهُمَّ Allah? Is there a deity with Allah? Look at this particular verse. Look at the other verses as well. I want you guys to do that on your own. Look at what Allah He says. Is He not the best one who responds to those in distress when they call upon Him? That is what Allah He's saying. In other words, who can be better than Him when responding to someone in distress? Who can be better than Him when removing evil? Now, the following story I'm going to go ahead and share with you, and this was a story I heard for the first time when I was a kid. Okay, so last night, or the night before rather, I was looking everywhere for the story and I couldn't find it. Nothing in the English sources. Even though I say Ibn Kathir says it, you can't even find it in the English tafsir, or at least in the abridged, in the summarized version of Ibn Kathir's tafsir. So you have to go and search for it in the Arabic. I don't know if that is due to the summarized version of his tafsir or what. In any case, I remember the story. I remember this particular verse to be included, and then I remember the story that was associated with this ayah. He states a story with regards to this particular verse in chapter 27, verse 62. Once there was a person who was traveling from Damascus to another city. So another person said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to this particular town." He said, "Can I accompany you?" He said, "Okay, sure, why not?" So he became his traveling companion. So as they were going, he said, "Why don't you take this path?" And that was a path no one ever takes. It's a path that is unencumbered upon. No one normally takes that path, that road. He says, "No, I'm not going to take it. I'll take this." He said, "No, this is faster and easier." So he obliged and he took the path until they reached a deep valley. And the person, he saw a whole bunch of dead people, bones of individuals, dead carcasses everywhere. So the passenger came down and he pulled out his knife or his sword. He said, "Give me everything." So he was a highway robber. So the person, the traveler, he told him, "Why don't you take my donkey, my mule, and leave me alone?" He said, "Well, the donkey is already mine. Your mule is already mine. Your belongings are already mine. But I have to kill you because then you'll go ahead and give me up to the authorities." So he said, "If you must kill me, then let me go ahead and pray 2 rak'ahs." Now imagine the person, he's struck with grief, he's full of fear, and he wants to be able to have his last act in this world, something that is in the worship of Allah. So he said, "Let me go ahead and pray." And that was actually the sunnah of all of the Sahaba, of those that came after him. So it got passed down to the point where if someone was going to be killed, it would, whether it was a prisoner, whether it was a victim on the road that he knew he was about to be killed by those thieves or whatever, they will always request that. And it was not so much as them, it was not done for the purpose of, let me save my life. It was more so, let me have my last deed in this world be something that was in the worship of Allah. Okay? Because these people were not really afraid of death. They prepared their whole life for it. Those people who don't prepare their life for it, they are the ones when death comes, it comes as a surprise. When you never talk about death, imagine, just imagine, those kuffar, if you bring up, when you guys are eating and you bring up death, what kind of stares are you going to get? It's just going to be complete silence. They're not going to appreciate that type of conversation. And then what happens when all of a sudden death comes upon them, it is a shock to them. It's a complete shock. That's why with this pandemic, you see a complete shock in these so-called first world countries. Complete shock. In Geneva, which is the most expensive city in the world to live in, right? Where on average a person makes 30,000 ringgits a month or more, maybe. No, not 30,000. About 28,000 ringgits. All right, about $6,700 a month, right? Because it's the most expensive city in the world, Geneva. Sister Farah, I think, lived there. So those people, there are lines right now stretching for kilometers just so they can be handed a bag full of food. Why? Because they have been just living and thinking this is life, this is Jannah, this is how it's going to be. And they were crying. They said, we never expected this to happen to us. We never expected this to happen. We never expected that we are going to be at the receiving end. We never expected that. So it became a complete shock. Why? Because they thought this is it. So anyway, he was so much, just imagine his state of mind. He was struck with so much fear and grief. He said, I could not remember any verse to recite. I could not remember. At that, when you know that you're about to die right after you say salam, right? Do you think you're going, if you see death right there, you're not really going to remember that much. You're thinking about death. So he said, I could not remember any verse to recite except chapter 27, verse 62, which Allah, he says, is he not best who responds to the one in distress when he calls upon him? And then he says, all of a sudden, a horseman, he says, all of a sudden, a horseman appears and he kills that thief, that passenger of his. And when the traveler, he said, when I finished my salah and he saw the aftermath, he asked that horseman that night, he said, O slave of Allah, tell me who you are. He said, I am the messenger to whom you pleaded and supplicated for. Meaning, I am the one whom Allah has sent down because of your supplication. When you recite the Quran with that much faith, don't you think, especially this verse where Allah, he's saying, who can respond better than I can? When you recite that, oh Allah, I need this verse to come true for me right now. And when you have that full conviction, right? Don't you think Allah will respond to it? I'll give you a personal story. And this, I've mentioned it before, so I'll go ahead and just say it very in brief. I lost my wallet with money and my credit card and everything, and when I was in Egypt. It pained me so much because everything was in there, right? And you know, I made such a dua to Allah, and I felt it too at the time. I said, "Oh Allah, I'm in your path, and I'm not seeking it from anyone except you." Long story short, a person, he found the wallet and he got my number in a city of 10 million people. He got my number from someone else whom he knew. He said, "This one American guy, he has this American license with this this stuff in there. You know him?" Like, "Yeah, what's his name?" He said, "Ali." He said, "Oh, yeah, I know him." He said, he calls me. And he says, "So and so has your wallet. Did you lose it?" I said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "Call him. He's waiting for you in this station. Go and get it." So I went and I got it. And then something happened to me here in Malaysia. I forgot what it was. Something similar. Did I lose my wallet or something like this? I forgot. It was recently, maybe like a year or 2 years ago, right? So I remember that. And I tried to do it, right? I forgot what it was, subhanAllah. I forgot. I don't remember.
Your briefcase with money?
But I guess it wasn't as, it didn't bring as great of a difficulty upon me. So when it doesn't bring such a difficulty upon you, your dua is just going to be, you know, like whatever. Oh Allah, give it to me. Of course, there's nothing that you lose doesn't bring, you know, some sort of grief upon you. But I guess the one here in Malaysia just didn't do it too much to me. I was like, I'll get it again. But still, I made dua for the sake of it. Because it was still something I lost. Right? And I lost it forever. I mean, until now. But I have no doubt, inshallah, Allah will reward me at least for the dua. The point I'm making is that when you make that dua with so much sincerity that it is only Allah who will respond, and it is Him, the one, Al-Waahid, Al-Ahad, He is the best one that's going to respond to your distress. He will come to you. Because at that moment, this was back in 2011, I think 2012, in a city of 10 million, where am I going to find my wallet? It's long gone. So when I got it, alhamdulillah, everything was in there except the money. The money wasn't a big deal for me. It was probably at the most like 100 ringgits, 150 ringgits. So the point is, when you really truly make that dua to Allah, you'll see how Allah he responds to it. Look at how should I stop here, or should I, because there's a lot here. Yeah, let me go ahead and say as much as I can. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded to Bilal radiyallahu anhu. Bilal, he became a Muslim. Okay, he was amongst those that submitted to the will of Allah. And look at how he was punished. He was punished by his master, Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Umayyah ibn Khalaf. He said, "Wallahi, I'm not going to stop until I kill you or you leave the religion of Islam." That's how much he was torturing him. What was Bilal saying? The only thing that could come out of his lips was Ahadun Ahad, the one and only, the one and only. So he was calling upon Al-Ahad, and those cries of his echoed throughout the streets of Mecca till it reached Al-Ahad, Allah. And look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered his dua. or his cry. Look at how Allah answered his cry. Allah made him the caller of adhan that proclaims his oneness. And he was the first mu'adhin. He had a lisp. You know, he couldn't say certain words correctly. Still, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to be the caller of his oneness, because he called upon Al-Ahad. So if the trials of this world overwhelms you, just remember the story of Bilal and call upon Al-Ahad. And if you are sincere, you will find how Allah will come to you in your times of distress. Look at what Allah He says in chapter 19, verse 65. Chapter 19, verse 65. Lord of the heavens and the earth and whatever is between them. So worship Him and have patience for His worship. Do you know of any similarity to Him? Allah He's saying, worship and have patience. Worship is not only salah or fasting. Worship is anything that is His obedience. And then Allah is saying, so have patience in it, because worshiping Allah is not going to be easy. Worshiping Allah is not going to be easy. Sometimes maybe you forgot to wake up for suhoor. Maybe you forgot to at least drink water. And then now you have a long day ahead of you at work. Have patience and seek help and assistance from Al-Ahad in your worship towards Him. Now Allah, He uses Al-Waahid and Al-Qahhar in a powerful combination several times in the Quran. Many places in the Quran, Allah, He uses His name Al-Waahid and Al-Qahhar, which means the subduer, the irresistible, the prevalent. These are all three translations, or probably even more than three. But I decided to use the subduer because of its relevancy to the topic at hand. So Allah, He uses Al-Waahid in conjunction with Al-Qahhar to reflect His supreme authority and His ultimate power to come to the aid of anyone that calls upon Him. Just like Bilal radiallahu anhu, he was calling upon Al-Ahad, Al-Wahid. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He uses these two as if to say He is the only one, the one and only one to subdue people, to prevail over the people. He can subdue anyone that dares to oppress and harm His believing servants. He compels them to His will. Who ended up killing Umayyah ibn Khalaf? It was Bilal in the Battle of Badr. Look at how Allah, He subdued those oppressors. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subdued them. That Umayyah bin Khalaf didn't even have the power to kill Bilal when actually he had the authority over him. But for some reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subdued his hand from torturing him to such an extent that he could actually kill him. Whereas Bilal, in just a matter of a few minutes, killed Umayyah ibn Khalaf in the Battle of Badr. Whereas Umayyah ibn Khalaf, he did that to Bilal for 11 days in Mecca. Until Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he set him free. He bought him from Umayyah bin Khalaf. And Umayyah bin Khalaf was laughing. He said, who's going to want this slave now? Look at what I did to him. Yeah. That is how Al-Waahid Al-Qahhar will go ahead and subdue and compel those people and bring them to justice in this world, sometimes in this world, before the hereafter. Look at how Allah says in chapter 14, verse 48. If you guys want, maybe we can stop here because it's already 10:30 and there's quite a few more to go. Or if you guys want me to continue, just let me know. All right, so we'll go ahead and continue. Look at what Allah, He says in chapter 14, verse 48. Chapter 14, verse 48. On the day when the earth will be changed to another earth, and so will be the heavens, and they all, meaning all of the creation, will appear before Allah, the one, the irresistible, the subduer. So over here, Allah, He's saying, on the day of judgment, that earth or that plain ground, you know, that ground there, that plain will be changed for another. Meaning this earth as we see it, it will not be in existence anymore. Allah will change it. And everyone will appear before Allah, the one, meaning they will only appear before Allah, the irresistible, the subduer, Al-Waahid Al-Qahhar. And also, excuse me, Allah, He says in chapter 13, verse 16, chapter 13, verse 16. Say, who is Lord of the heavens and earth? Say, Allah. Say, have you then taken besides Him allies, not possessing even for themselves any benefit or any harm? Say, is the blind equivalent to the seeing? Or is darkness equivalent to light? Or have they attributed to Allah partners who created like His creation, so that the creation of each seemed similar to them? Say, Allah is the creator of all things, and He is the one, the subduer. Over here, it says, Qul. Qul means say, meaning, O Muhammad, say this to them. So, O Muhammad, say this to them. Who is the Lord of the heavens and earth? Say to them, it is Allah. Meaning, O Muhammad, say this to them, meaning ask them this question, and then say to them in the answer to this question, it is Allah. And then, O Muhammad, say to them, have you then taken besides Him, besides Allah, allies not possessing even for themselves any benefit or any harm? O Muhammad, say to them, is the blind equivalent to the seeing? Or is darkness equal to light? Or have they attributed to Allah partners who created like His creation? Meaning, are the partners that they associate with Allah, do they create the way Allah, He creates? So that the creation seemed similar to them? Meaning, do you see any of your gods creating the way Allah has created, that now you are saying, well, yeah, Allah must have equals. Allah must have people similar to Him, other gods similar to Him, because we see how they also created creation that are very similar to the creation of Allah. Look at how beautiful Allah is saying these things. And then say to them, O Muhammad, Allah, He is the creator of all things, and He is the one, meaning He is the only one, the subduer, that is able to do all of these things. All right. And then also in chapter 40, verse 16, chapter 40, verse 16, Allah, He says, the day when they will all come out, nothing of them will be hidden from Allah. Whose is the kingdom this day? And then Allah Himself will reply to this question. It is Allah's, the one, the prevailing. This is the time when Allah will destroy everything. Everyone will be in their graves. Allah will take hold of of the earth, shake it 3 times, and He will ask, where are the kings? Where are the oppressors? Where are the people that used to subdue others? Right? And then Allah, He will say, whose is the kingdom this day? And everyone will be in silence. So Allah, He will go ahead and answer and reply to His question. And He said, Lillah, to Allah, Al-Waahid, the one, Al-Qahhar, the prevailing. He will prevail when everyone else will be subdued. Now, some of us might be suffering from the whispers of shaitan, and we want to be saved from his bondage. You know, shaitan said, maybe you didn't do your wudu properly. Maybe you didn't, do this or that. Okay? And that is a type of a bondage. You know, even if you claim to be religious and if you claim to be someone who worships Allah on a regular basis, so shaitan, he will not come to you and say, leave the worship of Allah. He will go ahead and make you do those things and bring about whispers and problems that will actually make it hard upon you to continue. Right? So if you give in, he has locked you in. If you give in to those whispers, shaitan says, I got a good hold of him. So what can we do to seek help from the one, the subduer? The Prophet ﷺ, he taught us a supplication that if anyone was to recite it 100 times in a day, he would receive the reward of setting free 10 slaves. He would receive the reward, he would have 100 rewards added to his account, and 100 sins will be wiped away, and they will be protected from shaitan till the evening. And then if he says it in the evening 100 times, he will be protected from shaitan till the morning. And what is that supplication or that dua? It is La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. None has the right to be worshipped by Allah but Allah. He is the only one and has no partners. For him is the kingdom, and all the praises are for him, and he is over all things powerful. Qadir. Now, if you can't fall asleep at night, right? If you have problems sleeping, if you keep on waking up because of the anxieties of this world, because of the problems of this world and what people have caused you, right? And they are sleeping so comfortably in their beds, but they have snatched away your rest and your sleep, and you've lost your peace of mind. Well, you can go ahead and cry onto Al-Waahid and Al-Ahad and have your dua be heard. This is one of the most beautiful hadith I have ever come across. Ever since I have read this hadith, inshallah, I have not failed to implement this. All right. Look at what the Prophet ﷺ, he says, whoever gets up at night, right? So let's say you are sleeping, and then all of a sudden you get up for no reason. You just get up in the middle of the night. When you get up and the first thing you say, right? And it is very difficult for a person to say this unless his heart is always attached to the dhikr of Allah. Unless he puts it in his mind, in his subconscious mind, you know what? I'm going to recite this dua when I wake up at night. Then Allah will give you the ability to do it. So remember, put this in the back of your head. Put it in the storage of your subconscious mind. That you know what? If any time I wake up and I say this, and I remember to say this. So the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever gets up at night and says, La ilaha illallah wahdahu, la sharika lahu, lahul mulku, wa lahul hamdu, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Alhamdulillah, wa subhanallah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I guarantee you, all of you know this particular dua, 100%. Meaning there's no words over here that is something new that you guys are saying, oh, well, I have to memorize this, it takes a lot of time. This dua, everyone knows this. Why? Because this one, first of all, this one, you guys already know this. So that's like half of it. Alhamdulillah, everyone knows this. Subhanallah, everyone knows that. La ilaha illallah, everyone knows that. Allahu Akbar, everyone knows this as well. And maybe this one some people don't know. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. You say this, and look at what the Prophet ﷺ, he says. And then he says, Allahumma ghfirli, which means, oh Allah, forgive me. Or supplicates to Allah, meaning he makes any dua to Allah. He will be responded to, meaning mustajabu dua. The word actually that the Prophet ﷺ used, you can't really translate it here. I can't put, and he will be mustajab. The word the Prophet ﷺ said, he is istujiba, which means mustajab. He will be responded. I don't know if this is a Malay word or you guys know what mustajabu dua means, but that's what it means. Okay, he will be responded to. And if he performs ablution, meaning if he also prays, his prayer will be accepted. His prayer will be accepted. This is in Bukhari, hadith number 1154. So if you wake up all of a sudden, and you're like, and the first thing that comes out of your mouth, right? Instead of saying, oh, what time is it? Or you check your phone. No, the first thing you say, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Alhamdulillah wa subhanallah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Oh Allah, forgive me, have mercy upon me. Oh Allah, give me a peace of mind. Oh Allah, give me health, give me cure. Whatever it is, right? And who normally wakes up in the middle of the night for no reason are people who are actually going through some stuff in their life. They're people that are like, you know what, I can't sleep because I have been anxious all the day before or the week before, since the week before. I'm going through things. So this person, he is not able to have a full night of rest. It's not like someone who everything is going well for him. And so all of a sudden he wakes up being so happy because, no, it's normally people who are going through stuff. So this is worth your while to go ahead and memorize this and remember to say it when you wake up. Remember to say it when you wake up. So the Prophet ﷺ said, if you say, so I tend to, when it happens to me, I will go ahead and say, and I will say, Allahumma ghfirli, because of course I want the forgiveness of Allah. And then I will go ahead and make any dua, whether in Arabic, in my language, or in any other language that I know. Whatever comes easy for me. So you say, Allahumma ghfirli, Allahumma hadini, Allahumma afini. Right? And then any dua that you can make. And then go back to sleep. But if you want to go ahead and, you know what, let me go ahead and make ablution and also pray, your prayer will be accepted. Now, what more of a guarantee do you want than this from Allah? Allah, He's saying, I will accept your dua, and if you make wudu, I will accept your salah. That's it. If it doesn't get accepted, well, guess what? You could use that. Say, oh Allah, I made this dua. It didn't get accepted even after you promised. But that's never going to happen. Allah promised that He will accept it. All right. There's a whole bunch of other a whole bunch of other du'as, or rather a whole bunch of other things associated. Like for example, whoever says La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, right? The same dua right here. Right? The same dua. Very similar actually. It's La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, and then the addition to it is yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa hayyul la yamut biyadihi al-khayr wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. If you enter the marketplace, if you go to KLCC, before you go to KLCC and you say this dua, does anyone know the reward that he will get? 1 million good deeds will be written for him, and 1 million of his bad deeds will be wiped away, and 1 million levels of his will be raised in Jannah, and he will have a house built for him in Jannah. Now, I doubt anyone can do 1 million good deeds in one day. I doubt anyone could do 1 million bad deeds in one day, or in a week, or in a month, in a year. 1 million levels just by saying La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamd. Now the only thing that's different is yuhyi wa yumit, and that maybe I should have put that in Al-Hayy. In any case, yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa hayyul la yamut. What does that mean? Yuhyi wa yumit. It means that He brings life and He causes death, and He is the ever living and does not die. Wa huwa hayyun la yamut. And He does not die. Biyadihi al-khayr, in His hands is all good, and He is able. Wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, and He is over all things powerful. The Prophet ﷺ says 1 million good deeds, 1 million bad deeds are forgiven, and 1 million of your levels will be increased in Jannah, and you will have a home built for you in Jannah. Now, Surah Ikhlas, it is considered to be a surah that is full of tawheed, and it has Qul huwallahu ahad, the name of Allah, Al-Ahad, in there. Now, whoever recites Surah Ikhlas 10 times, Allah will build for him a palace in Jannah. Allah will build a palace for him in Jannah. So if you say it 10 times today, you get a palace in Jannah. 10 times tomorrow, a palace in Jannah. Imagine having 360 palaces because you recited this every day for a whole year. Now there's many other du'as associated with the name Al-Ahad, Al-Waahid, but of course we can't say every single one. But if you guys want, you guys can go ahead and do some more research about it. All of this, inshallah, is readily available, especially right now with the internet. You could type in, for example, dua to go to the marketplace, and you'll get it. Okay. So, any questions? Any questions?